Hey there! With Bonfireside Chat ending, we have redesigned our Patreon campaign to be ready for a WAF-only future. That's right, go over to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv and check out the new tiers and the new milestone goals. We are still sticking around and doing other shows, even though this show is going away after our farewell season, and we would love if you could stick around. So once again, go to patreon.com/DuckFeedTV and look at the changes we have made. They will take effect July the 1st. Thank you.
Some of our landings were desperate adventures. We are now prepared to meet the inevitable counterattacks with power and with confidence.
My name is Gary Butterfield.
My name is Kole Ross.
And you're listening to Bonfireside Chat. It is a buggin', why you buggin' favorite.
It is Buggin' Out's favorite. Everybody's favorite character from Do the Right Thing.
Yeah.
I believe played by Giancarlo Esposito.
I believe that's true as well.
Yeah.
What are we doing this time, Cole?
Sorry. We're This is not our Do the Right Thing cast, although that would be a fun movie to talk about. No, we are reading your responses to the wonderful game Hollow Knight.
Yeah. Thanks again to Nick Daniel for joining us for the main episodes. We're recording this later.
Yes.
So he is not with us, but we really do appreciate his time, and everyone should go check out his work.
He's still with us. He's just not present.
Yeah. He's like, what a goofy way to announce that. And what a weird place to announce it.
What a weird venue.
Like his family
asked us. Yeah.
Listen, it was in his will. I know it's weird. So we're going to go ahead. We got, you guys came out in force. Like a lot of people had things to say about this game. Mm-hmm. So we're going to go ahead and get started here. I'll get started here with Stuart. Stuart says via contact, I love this game's aesthetic. It hits the same oppressive darkness I love about the best Souls games. Hornet is a great example of how the game builds a relationship with the character, even without dialogue. Those moments of seeing her run off or a few brief encounters create an arc for a relationship that is more deeply felt because I experienced it as a participant instead of as an audience member. That's how Souls NPCs can be great. The interactions are sparse, but personal.
Yeah. I mean, it's fantastic that Hornet's relationship with you is done mostly through gameplay. She is, leading you around. She's observing you at a distance. You have those fights with her. She shows up at these, kind of regular locations at important beats in the story. Like it is fully fleshed out with very little text, probably less than like 500 words of text across her entire arc.
Yeah, significantly less than that, I would say.
Yeah.
It seems like so. Yeah, like it does a really good job with that, and the fact that she actually plays a pivotal role in the final thing from a gameplay perspective. Mm-hmm. It's not like she actually helps you do the fight. Like it is kind of like a interactive cutscene, I guess. Mm-hmm. But it's it's not just in those margins. It also comes through in a thing where you've been playing.
Yeah.
So that helps.
It's kind of ridiculous that in a fully single player game between the Quirrell fight in the what is it, Fog Canyon, and then the way the true final boss articulates, they do have a little bit of that co-op experience as well.
Yeah, Cloth too.
Oh yeah, Cloth.
Comes doing fights. It's real good, and it wouldn't make sense for this game to be fully co-op.
No,
I feel like that'd be a nightmare with all the tricky platforming, like having to start an area over again every time one person hit the spikes.
Yeah.
But it does. I like the nod to it quite a bit.
Yeah. Tyler writes, I wanted to write in to express how much I love Hollow Knight's Coliseum of Fools. I want to quickly preface this by saying that I love combat arenas in games, and many a day was spent exhausting their content in games like the Ratchet & Clank series in high school. Hollow Knight's Coliseum is my favorite combat arena in any game. The atmosphere when the crowd erupts in a roar between waves, the intense drumming music in the background, the constantly changing structure, and the seemingly endless amount of enemies had my heart pounding and adrenaline pumping wave after wave. I love a lot about Hollow Knight, but the Coliseum of Fools was arguably my favorite discovery in the game.
Yeah, it's great. Like it's possibly my favorate too.
Yeah, and I don't like those.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I was about to say the same thing. Like, I don't think those are generally cool. Like, it's hard for me to think of ones I've liked.
No.
Like the one in Final Fantasy VI is super tedious. I think maybe the one in Final Fantasy X is kind of fun. The monster thing, just because you can kind of sequence break and fight monsters earlier than you're supposed to. I remember doing a lot of that.
The 1 and 7 is good because it's solo, and it also relies on AI a lot.
Yeah, and it has that weird, but that's very luck based. Like you can just you don't get to attack. Like I was inspect for that. Like that's a real bummer. But it's kind of neat. I think that they tend to not be very good. I think this one's very good though, and I love that it's not. Usually they can tend to be kind of a clearinghouse for old monsters, and there's so much unique stuff in it. It also stays as a platformer. Like it's like platforming becomes very important. It's not just a combat arena,
right? The lore and the flavor is great. I believe there are a couple of features that were stretch goals that they didn't make but were added in some form or fashion anyway. So like I believe that the Coliseum of Fools is one of them. Like, hey, we didn't make the stretch goal, however, like we're going to do at least a little bit of this because we really want to do it. And the fact that doesn't seem to have hurt the rest of the product like a lot of stretch goals can do, again, speaks to this team's togetherness. I'm really looking forward to whatever they do next. Thomas says via contact, I picked up Hollow Knight several weeks ago after watching one of my favorite Twitch streamers do a let's play of it. I came for the beautifully hand-drawn Metroidvania game, but stayed for the realization that it's 2D Dark Souls. This realization was especially joyous for me since I've been following the game for years without really being able to play them, due to not having any applicable consoles or a powerful enough PC. As I've played Hollow Knight, I've experienced everything that people love about Dark Souls, lack of multiplayer components and Fashion Souls aside. The exploration, the atmosphere, the satisfaction of figuring out and mastering a tough encounter. The shoe fits. I haven't gotten past the green path yet, due to Hornet slaughtering me many, many times, but I don't mind dying over and over, since it rarely feels cheap, and I can feel myself getting better with each try. Yeah, sounds like Dark Souls to me.
Yeah, it's interesting to come to this prior to Dark Souls. You're getting kind of that feeling first. From not Souls. That's interesting. So, good luck.
Best of luck, and hopefully you can get around to playing the mainline game soon. And hopefully, there's again those weird orders. I wonder how somebody will see the rest of Souls differently. Having done this one first, they're different enough, I think. But
absolutely. I mean, they're largely they have a lot in common. They have a lot just as much different. So
Dylan writes via contact, while I had no idea this game existed until its announcement on the show, I decided to check it out after seeing Gary highly recommend it on Twitter. While I was sold at, quote, gorgeous 2D Metroidvania with Dark Souls DNA set in an underground bug kingdom, unquote, little did I know the extent of personal satisfaction this game would grant me over the course of my roughly nonstop 35-hour playthrough. Super Metroid was my first ever game, and very few titles have been able to come close to instilling me with that dual sense of overbearing excitement and claustrophobic dread as I poked my head around every new corner in a twisting labyrinth of a world. Neither Symphony of the Night or, dare I say, Dark Souls scratched that specific itch that I've been feeling for the last 2 decades, but I can safely say Hollow Knight has finally left me satisfied. While the game is tight, simple, and addicting, the exploration factor was really where I fell in love. The world is absolutely vast. Just when I thought I'd seen it all, I took a tram as far east as possible until I was rewarded with an absolutely breathtaking surprise via the snowy tundra of Kingdom's Edge. That's not Snowman. And even that had several intermittent surprises hidden within. The abundance of little scenic tableaus expanded the game world exponentially, and I can confidently say that exploring Hollow Nest has been one of the most unforgettable gaming experiences I've ever had. I can't wait to go tell everyone I know about how much I love this game. Also, blasting through Blue Lake and Crystal Peak after obtaining the Crystal Heart absolutely took my breath away. Wow. Yeah,
it's a really great game.
Yeah.
And it's and for those reasons.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
We said it in the episode, but it bears saying again, like after a prolonged period of being kind of grumpy, it has been very nice to cover something that like I pretty unambiguously have positive feeling towards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, something that's near perfect.
Yeah.
Again, and it has been like we've been grumpy, but it what it does for me is this is like a hopeful note because like those other games that we did that I don't like particularly much. Mm-hmm. Like this does a really good job of showing what they were missing.
Right.
So the idea of Or was that?
Oh, I said they got it.
Yeah, they got it. Like, and other people might get it. Mm-hmm. So this means like there might be Souls likes in the future that like get what I like about the game. It's not going to be salts and sanctuaries all the way down.
Right.
Oops, all Neos. Like we're like, you're not going to have to choke down a bowl of that.
Yeah. And this still may be rare, but maybe that's okay.
I think it's absolutely okay.
Yeah.
Like it just, as I've been, playing as Dark Souls 3 has ended, and we say this like the day that the Sony conference is going to be for E3 as I'm recording this. So like, but I say this as being like, I'm pretty at peace with it being done. If something like this comes along, once a year or once every 9 months, I think that's fine.
Yeah.
And I would feel really good about having that slow drip of that feeling of like wonder that you're talking about, that feeling of exploration, and those good things about Dark Souls without, without the kind of like trying to maintain a lot of failures,
right?
Near successes. Yeah, I really love it. Really looking forward to seeing what this team does next. I know I already said that, but still very true. And looking forward to a second playthrough after they maybe patch in that fast travel, and if I feel like dealing with the challenge Super Meat Boy Zone, which I probably just won't do. I'll probably just replay the other parts for funzos.
Yeah.
Yost says via contact, our mutual friend Joey from Space recommended Hollow Knight to me on the Slack as soon as it came out. I like the art and atmosphere, but bounced off the relatively heavy focus on platforming. Having grown up a PC kid with Doom and Dune 2 instead of Mario, I'm very bad at platformers, and where I can more or less serenely bang my head against the Souls boss wall for hours if necessary, I typically tend to lose my patience unreasonably quickly over falling into another spike pit. I get this real sense of, why the hell am I spending my time on this? That makes me empathize more with people who bounced off the Soul series forever. On the other hand, I absolutely love exploring a world and opening up new areas with new verbs, Metroidvania style. Oh, life, you cruel bastard. But I recently got over my platformer dislike enough to beat Shovel Knight after 591 deaths. Wow. And ended up enjoying it immensely. So I gave Hollow Knight another try, and before I knew it, it had its hooks in me completely. I still occasionally let out a frustrated sigh because of the long boss runs, but hey, no instant death spike pits. Final note, and please omit this if it runs too long, but one of the joys of playing games with a good soundtrack in this day and age is listening to them while working. In anticipation of playing more, Hollow Knight is another winner in that regard.
Yep, I was listening to it today, as I have for, let's say, half the days out of the past month.
Yeah, it's not, because we're recording this after I edited the main episode. It's like, it's not nearly as ambient as when we talked about it in the episode and kind of revisiting it.
Yeah.
It's really not an ambient soundtrack.
Yeah.
Like
there's lots of like motifs and themes. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty melodic.
Yeah.
And a lot of it's very, very, very good. There are a couple of like straight up ambient tracks, but a lot of it is just kind of, it's not like listening to, like, I can listen to the Shovel Knight soundtrack while working, but that's because like I'm not distracted by busy music.
Yeah. It may not be ambient, but it's moody. And I think that it serves an ambient purpose, even, if it is more complex than just being, a sound bed. Right.
Yeah. It's lower key.
Right.
I think. Yeah. But yeah, it's a really great soundtrack. Yeah. It's And I feel you as far as like, I played platformers a lot, but I played those PC games as well. So I get this feeling about like high performance RTSs. Like there's a couple of genres where I just can't do it.
Yeah.
And I get that, where it's just like, I just don't.
What am I doing here?
Yeah. What am I doing here? I get that happens to me too. So I totally get it.
And finally, Patrick writes in saying, I was overjoyed to hear that you were going to do an episode on Hollow Knight. I discovered this game randomly and quickly found that few people were talking about it. As I fell in love with the look and feel of Hollow Knight's world, I took it upon myself to champion its merits as best I could. I soon found my people, players who loved the pitch-perfect soundtrack, the snappy combat, the unique art style, and the focus on exploration. But what stands out the most to me, and certainly more so than many 2D platformer games, is Hollow Knight's incredible sound design. I think that this is what really brings the world alive. This hit me once I made it into the zone called the Fungal Wastes. That place is just brimming with handmade sound effects. There's the burbling background noises in every room, the squeak of each mushroom as you walk by them, the rubbery boing as you bounce off of plants. The light hiss of spores being released into the atmosphere, the satisfying crunch of you cutting down the scenery, and of course, each creature's own special sounds. I was reminded of Botanicula by Amanita Design, largely in the way that each sound seemed to be created in simple ways, yet sounded so alien. The sound design isn't just set dressing, though. Much like Dark Souls, it's also there to warn you about certain enemies or encounters. While in the fungal wastes, I entered a room that had a large snoring sound coming from somewhere. Having already encountered some powerful enemies that I awoke with my presence, and not being ready for a big fight at the time, I went back the way that I came and looked for a different path. Later on, I re-entered the room and steeled myself for a big fight. Out of the ground, a big old bug with a club popped up, and I immediately started swiping at it with my weapon. He didn't fight back. It was a friendly NPC, and we had a little chat, ending with it's Cloth, wishing me well, and hoping that we'll see each other later on in my journey. Now, I don't know if this was intentional, but it felt like a nice little joke from the devs. They had taught me that sleeping creatures were going to be big enemy encounters, then used that expectation to psych me out and subvert my ideas about the game world. This was all done with the sound of snoring. Precise, intentional sound design. Yet another reason to love Hollow Knight. Yeah. Very well put.
Yeah, it's a really, really memorable encounter. And like, I think that's part of the reason that this game succeeds, whereas some of the other games that we've done don't. Whereas like, it's full of those little details like that. Like that's just in a room. You just happen to be walking through, and there's a lot of stuff like that. Like there's a lot of just like, you'll find a room and the whole point is this little bit of like, environmental storytelling or background detail that reveals the game, or you'll just meet a one-off NPC, that kind of thing. And those are all audio cue, like almost all like audio cue kind of foreshadowed.
Yeah.
That's how you find your grubs. That's how you know that those phoenixes are going to fall from the ceiling.
Yep.
They do really, really great work with audio design, and it tends to lead to something meaningful and cool.
Yeah.
As well. So.
Yeah. While we're making requests of Fangamer, also give me a grub plush or statue in a small jar.
I would love a statue.
As a bonus, if the bass can play the song that they hum, please.
Yeah.
Please.
Or you can get a set and they kind of harmonize. Like you have a bunch of them, they're you sync them up through Bluetooth. Incredible.
Yep, near field communication.
Yeah.
Get on it, Fangamer devs.
Yeah, I do not care if this Internet of Things gets me hacked. I need it. That would be fantastic. I really hope this game does really well. Just because that's how we're gonna get more shit like that.
Yeah. And I haven't seen a lot of this being Undertaled, so it's not going to like immediately make me feel like I have to qualify my affection for it.
Yeah. It's the worst of the Hollow Knight fans don't seem so bad. I haven't really seen them yet.
I've only ever seen like really neat stuff. So
yeah. I mean, and of course, now that we say that, it's just going to be
somebody's going to be tweeting us
just
like here's
Hornet,
just rude. Yep.
Like
just horny hornets coming out of the woodwork. Yeah.
Do not need horny hornets. It's the worst thing.
Okay, so say that to me in January, and that will be a very funny statement. And also, now it's funny, but also depressing.
Yeah. Man. So thanks everybody for writing in. After this, it's victory season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So if you have backed at the $10 or so level, please check your inbox for the prompt that was sent out. We are doing those as just kind of a general input and prompts and stories kind of thing, as opposed to doing episodes that are just related to a specific game. Yeah.
So we're alternating. We're doing an episode on Bloodborne and then just kind of a responses prompt episode. Those are joined by guests from the community, people who have supported us through Patreon kind of throughout our career and kind of helped us continue doing what we do. Yeah. So I think those episodes are going to be really fun. It's been fun to revisit. It's going to be fun to talk about those games kind of with a little bit backed up.
Yep.
Kind of from a backed up perspective. Yep. If you want to support the network right now, if you're listening to this, make sure you check out the other shows. Not everybody is going to be, some people are just here for the Dark Souls, and I get it. Yep. But we'd really appreciate you giving a chance to what else we do, because we think that you'll like it as well. It's pretty rare that someone just plays Dark Souls.
Right.
I literally play 5 games, and that's it.
Yeah. Watch out for fireballs is the most logical kind of next step, especially if you have enjoyed the pace of these like off-season episodes that we've done. But also we have a lot of fun doing things like Adric Suffering or Monster in My Podcast, both of which are comedy shows. One, Adric Suffering, is nominally about bad games, and the other is a short, thrice weekly show about monster manual entries.
Yeah, and it's very short, like 5 minutes.
Yes.
So low investment to give that stuff a shot. Just go to Duckfeed.tv and you can check out kind of everything we have on offer.
Yep.
If you want to support us financially, you can do so at patreon.com/DuckFeedTV. That's also a huge deal. Mm-hmm. And we really do appreciate it. You'll get a bunch of cool stuff, and that's how we are able to like not jam pack this full of ads.
Yes.
Like there's a version of this podcast that happened, and you could have heard us talk about mattresses like 400 times.
I could have told you what kind of underwear I'm wearing, which
I
get mortified whenever anybody says that.
Just both of us just talking about like things wicking, like just like like all the fucking schmeg wicks off my dick. Like, do you want to hear that? Like, no, nobody wants that. And there's one, like weirdly enough, like there's one reason why we're not talking about like fucking ball sweat wicking off of our modal fabric.
No, I want to do that because it's fun. I don't want to do it because it's an obligation. You know,
if I'm going to talk about anything wicking off my ding dong, it's going to be on my terms, not on your terms. It's not even a portmanteau. Like,
I'm actually going to bleep out that brand name because I don't want to.
Yeah, fuck those guys. Yeah, I'm going to talk about my own underwear on my own terms. Yeah. Hanes.
Yep. There we go. Yep, that brand name is not deleted. Fruit of the Loom. Got it in a 5-pack off of Amazon. Yeah. Boom.
Fruit of the Loom is one of the funniest, like, brand names anyway, though. Like, I think Fruit of the Loom is very funny.
I like it, yeah.
It's really a grandiose and, like, like, the Fruit of the Loom. And just some shitty, like, white parrot, tidy whities, like, this truly is what come from my loom. So anyway, so we kept it ad free, and that's how. Yep. So if you appreciate listening to the show and going on this journey with us, and not having to hear about how bad the post office is, that's why.
Yes. That is exactly the way that we like doing it. And the model that we have set up lets us reward the most generous people with extra content and things like that. So go and take a look at that. We have several reward tiers, and those have just been refreshed here recently. A lot of people give just to give. A lot of people give even outside of the reward tiers. We appreciate that as well. But like, there's something for most people there, I think, if you have the means. And we understand if you do not. Yeah, absolutely. So check that out, please. That's all we have. I don't think we have deleted scenes on this one. So just thank you very much. We'll see you guys in a week, and we are going back to Yarnum. Yeah. So see you there. Good hunters. Yes.
And we all pray that we will have far more soon